Hey, gun people! My favorite crooked, worst law enforcement agency ever worked with, California Highway Patrol. I mean, I've already done I don't know how many videos on these guys who have been in prison and jail for raping and pulling over. So this officer, Craig Payer, I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways. He was denied parole in this killing, and they actually did a show on this, I think on 2020 or Dateline, on this guy. And I think he did 13 years. He was 13 years, you know, a great, outstanding highway patrolman. And here's the weasel here with his little CHP badge, his little fairy blue tie that they like to wear. So this guy was just, you know, a typical piece of work. Well respected, everybody loved him. They said he polished his badge every day, and he polished creased his pants, and his being a CHP was his life. Yeah, it's all those guys' lives. They like to run around and give tickets and play like they're the greatest cops in the world because they got a TV show. I mean, oh man, I've got horror stories about that agency. But anyway, so this guy went up for parole, but the way he killed this girl was pretty brutal. They had 30 complaints on this knucklehead from him pulling over women and trying to get them on dark streets, and never did anything. This is the great California. This is why I don't think cops ought to be investigating their own agency, because it just never works out. They've got, you know, I've said before, if you want cops investigated, every agency should give up an officer, and no officer can investigate his own officers in his agency. He has to do it in others, because that way he doesn't have to go back and work with those guys. He doesn't have the pressure of the chief or a lieutenant or pissing off the guy's buddy who's a sergeant, and then he won't get promoted. There's all kind of influences on internal investigations when you do it within the agency. And I don't care what anybody tells you. It's just the way it is. So 30 complaints. This guy was still on the road, did nothing. I think they think he killed a couple of other women. But he was raping these women, pulling them over, getting in a car with them, telling them to follow me. And this girl evidently, for some reason, started fighting back and scratched him. And then he knew the gig was up, so he hit her in the face with his flashlight and broke her chin, or broke her jaw, and knocked her out. And because he knew that she could identify him, he pulled a rope out of his back of his car, strangled her, and then after he killed her, because he's a smart CHP, the greatest law enforcement officers in the land, he knew that if he put her in a car, they could track the evidence. So he throws her on the hood of his car and drives her on his marked unit to a bridge and throws her off a 75-foot bridge to her death. I mean, now, they don't know if she was dead already. They think she was dead because he choked and strangled her. She had marks on a rope. And so anyway, they end up catching him, which is funny because CHP loves to point at their patch. They think their patch is like their little badge of honor, and they'll always point at it and tell you, I'm the California Highway Patrol. You better respect me. So one gold yarn or thread from his patch got on her clothes, and it was matched to his patch, and that was part that convicted him. I mean, another thing is, when this came out that there was somebody impersonating a cop attacking these women, the great, wonderful California Highway Patrol, greatest law enforcement agency in the land, picked him as the spokesperson, and he did a news report telling women how to be careful and what they should do. Basically talk them into following his orders next time when he pulled the next woman over. I mean, the people that put their trust in government just kills me. But I'm glad they denied his parole. I'm sure you can look up on 2020 if you search his name, Craig P-E-Y-E-R, and you search her name for the killing, and he was denied parole. Good. He ought to rot in jail. Rick, he's whatever. I don't want to hear it. He's a rapist and a murderer. All right. We'll end that there on the greatest law enforcement agency in the land, California Highway Patrol. Dun, 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 dun. Chips. Yeah, okay. Give him a TV show.